All right, welcome everyone to Cisco's webinars. We're very excited to be here I'm lucky to be joined by Simone Arena. And Simone, maybe you could quickly introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh, and welcome everybody. My name is Simone Arena. I'm a distinguished engineer in the Cisco wireless team. I look after everything architecture.
Fabulous. Sorry.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. And my name's Josh Van Tonder. I lead the product marketing team here for wireless. And as you can probably gather, today is going to be all about wireless for our time. Exactly. So maybe let's set with a little bit of context setting. So
Sure.
Simone, you're out talking to customers all day long for the most part. And one of the things that is changing is sort of the enterprise demands that our customers are facing. Can you maybe talk a little bit about some of the trends and changes that are facing our customers?
Absolutely, Josh. So when you talk to a customer, what you realize immediately is that the demand on the network itself is greater than ever, and especially wireless. By the way, who connects wiredly these days, right? So wireless is becoming more and more business critical, and this is about more devices getting onto the network, so scale, but also different type of devices, right? Not just the regular laptops and phones, but also devices like AGV, robots, so those that needs particular low latency and jitter, and so high requirements that usually Wi-Fi was not suited for.
So this is like almost like a robot that's in a manufacturing plant or something like that.
Absolutely, and you can imagine the type of reliability and low latency that this type of devices need. The other thing is, when we put all these things together, the network starts to become complex. So what the customers are asking is really, how can Cisco help me to simplify my IT operation? That's where all the AI things come into the picture.
So we see an increase in devices. We see complexity that's sort of driving challenges for the IT operation side.
Yes.
Maybe just to unpack that a little bit, what is really going under the covers of the device growth and the density? What's sort of playing into creating that?
But I mean, it's as I said, different type of use cases, right? So wireless becoming the first way to connect to the network, and then this all sort of IoT devices coming to the network. So the customers have to deal with this, and it's a lot about scale, honestly.
Well, let's kind of pull on that thread with scale for a second. There's obviously lots of different ways to approach how to deal with scale, and a lot of our customers are looking at different kind of architectural sort of strategies, both on-prem or cloud or hybrid. Maybe could you talk a little bit about some of the approaches that customers could use and different ways to think about it?
Yes, and I'm particularly proud of this because I think Cisco is the only vendor out there that provides complete architecture flexibility, because we were talking about scale, but not everybody needs scale, right? And so no matter how you manage your network, on-prem, or you want to go full cloud, SaaS-based, right? Or hybrid, because we have a lot of customers that are willing to tether to the cloud but still want to manage things on-prem. For them, we provide complete architecture flexibility to have either a distributed type of architecture or a centralized one that usually is suited when you want to scale. Then you have an aggregator type of device.
Okay, so on one hand, you've got full on-prem, on the other hand, full SaaS, but in the middle, you're painting a picture of sort of a hybrid mode. Maybe let's pull on the thread with the cloud side.
Yes.
So I think sometimes when people are considering cloud, they're not sure at what scale might be appropriate. Can you allay any fears about being able to grow to any size, or what is appropriate for different clouds, and how should we think about that?
And honestly, we were missing a solution, a piece of the solution. In cloud was always catered to more smaller deployments. But now we have, with the introduction of Campus Gateway that happened, last summer, we have now the solution for a cloud-managed wireless network to scale to 5,000 access point, 50,000, this is just the first release. We are going to even increase more the scale. So if you have a large campus, now there is no problem. We can have a solution for cloud managed.
Okay, so punchline is, no matter what the campus size, you could manage it with cloud.
Absolutely.
At one side, it's all with no extra device, but on the bigger end, you might add one extra element, but it's still all cloud managed is the punchline.
Absolutely.
And that's
native
the
cloud.
Native
cloud managed.
Okay. And so that's what Campus Gateway brings to the picture. And actually, we have two models that we've released. So we have a really big one, and then we have recently announced one that's for sort of smaller or mid-sized campuses.
Exactly. So that, again, because not all customers are equal, and even if you have 300, 400 access point, it could be beneficial to have an aggregator point because it simplifies the way you deploy, because all your VLANs will be centralized, you don't have to touch multiple access switches, it's just simpler, right? And we go up to 5,000. So
Perfect.
we have the whole spectrum.
And so basically you have flexibility on-prem or cloud, so it doesn't really matter is what I'm hearing. You can go as big as you want, really on either side of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Well, so we've been talking a bit about scale, and when we were opening up the webinar, I think you're hinting at, well, as the network grows, it also grows the complexity. And so let's talk a little bit about the complexity side of this equation. What does it really mean for the IT operator as complexity goes? Maybe unpack some of the challenges that someone in IT is facing as they have to manage more complicated networks.
Absolutely. I mean, as the networks get bigger, more application, more type of devices, monitoring and troubleshooting is the most painful thing that this customer has to deal with. And honestly, everybody blames the wireless, right? Because an application doesn't work, or a call drops, or the video has some, misses some frames, whatever. You are connected by wireless, it has to blame the wireless. So it's important for the IT team to have a way to monitor their network end to end. And also, when there is a problem, to be able to root cause it, troubleshoot and get to the root cause. Now, here we are lucky with all the approach on AI and agentic AIs. We are getting the tools. We are giving customers tools in their toolbox to really go and effectively monitor and troubleshoot. So I think we had recently announced a very important revamp of the assurance on dashboard, right, with the experience metrics that basically focus on the KPIs around the client and client flow. The other thing that we are doing thanks to AI is basically being able to look at the configuration, baseline your network, and being able to recommend some optimization on the configuration, because we know how your network is performing, we know your configuration, and then we can recommend, for example, turn on 6 gigahertz because your clients actually support it. Turn on WPA3 so your network is more secure. 802.11r for faster roaming. I mean, we can do these things because we are baselining your network and seeing what could be a not optimal behavior.
So the last one you're talking about was AI config recommender?
Config recommendation,
okay.
Yes.
And is that something that you would actually activate yourself, or is it running for you alone?
It is running for you, and then basically it's not really in alert, but it's in that alert page, because of course it's something that you have to immediately have attention, because these are optimizations. So we have another tab for network configuration optimizations.
So I guess what I'm hearing is it basically monitors the network and looks for opportunities to optimize on your behalf, and then you have control at the end of the day.
You still have control. We are not at the point. I think we need time, right, for customers to trust what we are doing and the recommendation we are giving, and then we will we would think of automatically fix the network. Right now, these are optimization that we propose, and they have to act on.
That makes sense.
Of course, it's one click to make the configuration change, but still they have to make it.
But essentially makes the job of the administration or operator that much easier.
Much
we're,
easier.
We're just flagging things where there's an opportunity to make the experience better for the end user.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Well, so that was sort of on the optimization side. Maybe flipping towards troubleshooting. So often, the IT teams are struggling to get visibility, and then once they do determine there's an issue, they've got to go, needle in a haystack to figure out what the actual issue is. So can you talk about, we've recently introduced some new capabilities that also use AI on this dimension.
I'm actually very excited about this. It's a new tool in the troubleshooting toolbox. It's called AI Packet Analyzer. And instead of me talking, just let me show you a demo. Okay, so imagine you get a ticket, right? That someone is experiencing some sort of issues on the network. So you go here, you search for that IP address or MAC address, you get to the client page. We have a 360 view, as you can see at the top, and you click on one of the issues, those red marks. In this case, for example, we have a problem with DHCP. So by looking at this, you immediately know what is going on with this particular client. Now, what we have done is, for any issues in the client state machine, we are dynamically, automatically getting a packet capture. And we use AI to root cause, to read that packet capture and to root cause. So we can give you, as you can see here, it says AI generated, the reason for the failure. So the other thing that we do is that packet capture that not everybody is so familiar with gets translated, for example, in this state machine, where you immediately see green, okay, red is where the problem is. So in this particular client, they pass all the initial state of the onboarding, so association, authentication, the EPOL handshake, and then it fails in the DHCP discover because it doesn't get a reply. So it is obvious from also the visual that the problem is with the client not getting a DHCP address. But I can really go into the details of the actual packet capture. And here you see all the different packets that were captured by the radio. So you have all the actual frame, 802.11 frame details that you can dive into. But let's say you are not so an expert, so you can click on that and toggle that AI highlighter, and guess what? We will highlight, as you can see here, the packets that trigger the problem, right? So, as you said, it makes it so easy now to get from a ticket to the root cause analysis in really no time.
That was awesome. Thanks for walking us through there. I think for people that aren't in this day in and day out, they may not understand kind of what life could look like before something like this and what this actually solves. So you've seen people do this and have to solve this in the before war. What does that actually look like, the situation?
Well, in this specific case, when there is a wireless problem, what you would have to do is to get someone on site with take a packet capture, because you never know if it's on the air, on the wired. So if you send someone, you want to take a packet capture, then get the file, send the file back, analyze the file, get the problem. Now this was pretty easy, honestly, to spot, but sometimes it's not that easy to spot. So having AI and all the intelligence that is behind it to automatically trying to find the root cause, it helps a lot.
So it basically compresses what was a huge amount of time, including on-site visits
and
potentially.
cost.
And cost, yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We're going to draw to our close our webinar today. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. You heard us walk through some of the trends and challenges that are driving the changes in the wireless industry. Obviously, explosion of devices, which is fantastic, mission critical networks growing, but it also creates some questions for you of how are you going to manage that scale and your enterprise strategy. And it also opens the door to new ways to manage the operational complexity. And we talked around how AI, AgenticOps, and automation can play a role in helping you do that. So with that, I direct you to our website, so cisco.com, in the wireless section. We've got all sorts of goodies and resources, both about the campus gateway, our solutions, and our automation and AgenticOps capabilities. So please do take a look there. And we look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Thank you so much.